We are Rogue Media Sports.
It is the Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network. Happy Wednesday to you. Zach Burke making sure it all happens behind the camera. Cam Stewart in front of the camera making sure at least something happens. And Zach, we had some big news to start this day in the national sports world.
Really big.
Potentially the final Woj bomb, the biggest one of them all. Woj is stepping away, not just from ESPN, but the news entirely. He is out of the news business. Woj bomb. He is now the GM, because I guess they have those for college basketball programs now. He is the GM of the St. Bonaventure Bonnies, his alma mater in St. Bonaventure, New York. Where did this come from? I mean, he was like full in, like 2 cell phone Schefter of the NBA for, I mean, really like 10 plus years, from Yahoo to then ESPN. And now it's a one-horse race. Shams is the guy, which, by the way, it was kind of a corny thing that Woj clearly did to announce it, but I don't hate it. So he clearly sent like a mock tweet to the other insiders around other sports, because it just kind of, someone said it hit like a 21 gun salute from all the other newsbreakers. So it was Pete Thamel, it was Jeff Passan, it was Adam Schefter, and they all had the same tweet word for word about Woj leaving and going to St. Bonaventure's, and like the exact verbiage. And it clear that he sent them to those 3 guys, did not send one to Shams.
I think the Athletic had it too.
Did they?
Yeah. As a whole.
Shams has not tweeted in a couple days. I think there's some bad blood there. That used to be like teacher-pupil relationship. Now I don't think it is. But man, this guy he was signed a contract a few years ago. He's making $7 million a year from ESPN. ESPN is like hemorrhaging money. They pay like 5 people. He was one of them. And now he's going to take the job to be at St. Bonnie's. And someone tweeted, I think it was Roger Sherman, tweeted out, like, can you imagine how stressful that Woj job was, that he's now going to, take a job running a program as a mid-major in the NIL and transfer portal era, because that's more relaxing. I mean, it probably, like, that job that he was doing at ESPN, you have to be plugged in all the time. Like, you want to talk about no vacations ever. I mean, this is the number one newsbreaker in the sport. So, yeah, every year you got to make sure your team sticks around at St. Bonnie's, because they're getting recruited to play in like the Big Ten and the ACC, the good ones, and at least the Big East. You got to keep them at St. Bonnie's now, but that has to be a little bit easier, right?
Yeah, I would think at least not as stressful, because I mean, looking through, he started at Yahoo in like 2007.
Yeah.
So the dude, like, as you brought up, has been like, 2 phones, always trying to figure it out for, 20 long time. That where,
like, since KG was playing for Minnesota, time. Yeah.
So I think that this would be a little bit less stressful, which is a weird thing to say about helping to run a college basketball program.
In this day and age, it's crazy. And think of like $7 million a year.
That's a lot
like
of money.
Woj probably, this is an assumption on my part, Woj probably was not like living a very lavish lifestyle. So I'm sure he's done well with his money, which has come to him really the last like 6-7 years here. But think of the pay cut that's got to be. St. Bonnie's is like 2,000 kids. Like, there's no way he's making more than like $200K doing that. If you're doing that at like a major program, I mean, you could get close to $1 million bucks.
I'm
like
trying,
one of the top programs.
I'm trying to find like a general salary for that, but I don't know like what position to look up, since college basketball GM.
Yeah, like director of ops or something, director of basketball ops. I guess. I wonder what they even make at Baylor. Like Baylor's down the street here. It's a top 15 job in America now with what Scott Drew's built, but it's still not very big. It's not a big school. It's not a huge endowment.
According to ZipRecruiter, which take it for what you will, the annual average pay of a director of basketball operations in the U.S. is $107,000. Now, that's obviously not like collegiate. That's just that there's multiple positions like that aren't necessarily collegiate positions.
Yeah, and obviously at some point you get evened out. Like the guy who's doing it at Duke is making however, 100 times what the guy is making at Bowdoin College. You know what I mean? You do that at like a Bowdoin or an Amherst College, and you're probably making much less than 100,000.
At SUNY, the director of basketball, SUNY.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of them.
Oh, it doesn't specify.
Okay,
it just says
system?
SUNY director basketball operations, and it also says and video coordinator, and the range is $60K to $100K.
Yeah, you make a fine living doing that.
Yeah,
but there's a reason why you keep moving up. But that's interesting, man. And I wonder what like the thought process is from St. Bonnie's. I mean, I guess the theory is he's the most connected guy in the sport, like of anybody.
But how does that help?
Trying to figure that one out.
I mean, Draft Scoop's not going to necessarily help us win on the court.
Right. GMs, but he also probably, the top prep people, I guess. But like, I don't know. I just think it's a guy who has obviously a great basketball mind that, like, I think that job that he did proves that he can handle just about anything you throw at him, like logistically.
Oh, for sure.
Like, it's not unlike being an agent, which I really learned a lot about from watching Entourage. Like that weird follow-up show by The Rock. What was that one called?
Ballers.
I watched. That makes sense.
I watched
both dumb, but
I watched more Entourage, and then I think by the time Ballers came around, I was like, "Oh, this is just like you said, like a continuation of the same thing." Same reason I quit watching Entourage.
Yeah,
just sports.
Yep, just a bunch of meatheads. But like it did portray probably pretty accurately like how hectic the life of an agent is.
For sure.
And so I don't know. Maybe I don't know. So an agent can handle a lot, I think. And Woj was essentially with that demand a lot like an agent.
But why are all those agents like Ari Gold though?
Like crazy, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I think Woj poses a better like picture of what you would want. Yeah,
probably. Anyway, Woj, St. Bonnie's gonna bring back those shorts, man. Seen those shorts?
No, I'm giggling.
You remember that? Like, it's like a picture. It's a picture that goes all over the internet. It's from like 2007 or so, and it's the St. Bonnie's guy with the shorts that goes down to his ankles. If you just look up like St. Bonaventure's basketball,
yeah, I do. Yeah. 2001.
Is that how long ago it was? 2001?
That's what it says, because it's from the game of them versus Rhode Island, maybe? Yeah.
Maybe. That's A10, baby.
Marquez Green and Zach Marbury.
I miss the era of like 07, 08, 09, which was really baggy shorts like that, but tight jerseys.
Yeah.
Like if you look back and see like John Wall at Kentucky, or I don't know, like Greg Oden's Ohio State team that had Mike Conley on it. Like they got this like skin tight jersey and then these really baggy shorts, like very baggy. I think of like Robbie Hummel at Purdue and Aaron Kraft at Ohio State too.
Yeah, I pulled up, like you brought up John Wall at Kentucky, and it's like the jersey is like clinging to his top, but he's like making a cut, and it's just like the pants are like blowing in the wind.
Rippling in the wind. Yeah. Duke's 2010 team, which I followed really closely, obviously, that they had those two. So wow, shout out to Woj, man, kind of living the dream, like work your ass off for 20 years, make a ton of money at the end, and then just I'm gonna take it easy now, get kind of a cushy job. I mean, any college comes with good benefits and stuff, good retirement plan, and a decent salary for the lay people, not ones who were making $7 million last year, but for the lay people. Anyway, speaking of contracts. And speaking of money, there's now reports out this morning that Jeremy Swayman may or may not have a deal in place with the Boston Bruins. This has become a saga all offseason. They trade Linus Ullmark before the draft, so a week and a half before free agency, and they have not been able to get a deal done with Jeremy Swayman, their actual now starting goaltender. Looked like he had him over a barrel there. He was asking for $10 million. Might have gotten to that. We don't know. It's been very mixed signals at this hour. The only one that I've seen say that there's a deal done with a number is this guy, Rob Reinhart. Rob Reinhart from the New York Herald. He had said the deal was done at 8 and 8.5. Courtney Cox of the Greg Hill Show of WEEI said a deal was done. Then we heard from Rich Keefe, who had the $10 million scoop, also from WEEI, said the deal is not done. There's a press conference going on as we are live here with Don Sweeney, the general manager of the Bruins. So we have up to the minute stuff here. Connor Ryan from the Globe, who I follow, not the Globe. Yes, Boston Globe. I almost thought he was the Herald there. Connor Ryan from the Boston Globe saying Don Sweeney has now told the media that Jeremy Swayman will not be at training camp until a contract is settled. There was a press conference called for noon today, as that's what's going on right now, and everyone thought, oh boy, here we go. Jeremy Swayman, hold up the jersey again. They have a deal done. That is not the case. The bombshell news at this hour for the Boston Bruins is that Jeremy Swayman will not be at training camp until a deal is done. He will not be on the ice for the Bruins tomorrow as they start camp. And it continues. The saga goes on. Rob Reinhart of the New York Herald, I don't know why he was the one reporting on that number. It seemed a little fishy. 8 and 8.5 would be perfect. 8 years by 8.5 would be awesome. Absolutely perfect for what Jeremy Swayman has done and what you were looking for him to do. And with the salary cap rising, that was a fair number. In fact, we had our man on from the Bruins Benders podcast last week, 2 weeks ago, and he said that was the number. 8 and 8.5. That would be the number. And still we wait on it. But man, what a blow to Bruins fans today. You thought you were getting a contract extension announcement, and finally we could put this thing behind us. Not the case. And I don't have the audio going right now, but I would have to imagine, I know how Don Sweeney does these press conferences. I wonder what the tone is like. I have to imagine he is taking the Bruins on the attack here. Ty Anderson, one of the absolute best Bruins reporters out there. Sweeney said that the Bruins will sign Jeremy Swayman by the December 1st deadline. He took about 5 questions on the topic and then said he was not going to discuss it any further. December 1st? That's 2 months into real games of the season. 2 months into the season. They're like, yeah, we'll have it done by then. Oh, this is not going well. I don't think we hear all around the league a deal's going to get done. Teams aren't even thinking about qualifying sheets because they're so confident in that front office that a deal is going to get done. And yet at every turn, we keep getting information contrary to that. At every turn, we keep getting information that would say a deal is not close to being done. We heard the Bruins lowballed him at 6 by 6.2. And then we hear Jeremy Swayman is asking for $10 million and that these sides aren't even close. Last week, we heard it had been 3 weeks since they had discussed a contract when Jeremy Swayman was out on the ice for captain's practice. And then this ultimate smokescreen of today's the day, and on the EEI morning show, what used to be the top sports radio station in Boston, on their morning show, they're saying a deal is done. It's going to happen. To then, a few hours later, the GM saying that deal is not done. And we think we'll have it done in the next 2.5 months here, but he's not going to be on the ice tomorrow until we get this contract done. That's not good. That is not a good look for the Bruins, and it continues to not be a good look for the Bruins. But yeah, Sweeney has also said there's a bunch of inconsistencies, is the word he used, around the reporting surrounding this negotiation. But this is not a good situation for the Bruins. You already traded the guy you could have started instead. You traded him for potentially pennies on the dollar here. Like you traded him because you wanted that draft pick. And I've said it time and time again, Dean Letourneau could be a good player for you, but he's not going to be for the next 3, maybe 4 years. And your actual goalie, who's going to be one of your best players this year, now has you over a barrel because you wanted to get that trade done. You wanted the draft pick so bad. There was talks about Chychrun. Couldn't land that. You got the draft pick. You had to eat a bunch of the cap hit by taking on Korpisalo, which I still don't get that side of the deal. Like, just have Bussy be your backup at that point. Bring in someone like they've done a ton of times before on short money. Bring in someone like an Anton Hudobin, a Chad Johnson, a Yarrow Halak. These guys who are at the end of their career, and Bob Essenza can turn them around. Now, you could be saying, well, Jonas Korpisalo is that same way. He's coming off a terrible year last year. He's on basically his last chance. Why isn't that the same thing? Because Jonas Korpisalo is taking more of a cap hit than any of those guys did. And right now, he might be your starting goalie on opening night because this hasn't gotten done. If you weren't going to get to the, let's say, the $9 million range, which I think would be what gets the deal done right now, if you weren't going to be willing to go there, knowing what your cap situation was, why didn't you trade Swayman instead? I don't want that. I think Swayman's a better long-term solution than Linus Ullmark, but if you knew that you weren't, like, did the Bruins seriously believe that he was going to take somewhere between 6 and 7 million coming off an all-star year after you just traded the goalie with the salary cap going up in the NHL in a few seasons? Did they really fucking think that he was going to take 6 by 6.2? Like, how stupid are you? So then you trade the other guy who wouldn't be able to have your backs against the wall as much as Swayman, even though he does have a Vezina because he's older and he's coming off a season that wasn't as good as Swayman. And instead, you thought, yeah, we could probably lowball this guy. Maybe we'll get 7 million AAV. And instead, he's asking for 10. And you're like, oh, shoot, can we settle for 9? Like, how stupid is this front office if that's the way they were thinking? And I said this last week, like, the Bruins really don't cheap out on their own guys anymore. I actually think this was a point that Felger pointed out very well and accurately. Like, there are some guys they will let walk. They let Torrey Krug walk. They let Jake DeBrusk walk this year after keeping him on the team through so many, trade requests. And so they're okay with that. But when it's their homegrown guys who they see as the future, they spend. David Pastrnak is making $11 million a year. Charlie McAvoy, he's getting a pretty penny, man. So that's not the issue here. The issue, I think, is the Bruins expecting Jeremy Swayman to take less, to take that hometown discount. And if you're Jeremy Swayman, you got to be like, why am I taking the hometown discount? David Pasternak's not taking the hometown discount. Charlie McAvoy's not taking the hometown discount. You didn't let them go to market. You get them great deals. Why am I supposed to take the hometown discount? And so I get that part of it. I think he's ridiculous for asking for 10 million. I think that's an overpay. I think that's too far. But I understand why Jeremy Swayman would like to say, well, why are you holding me to a different standard than the rest of these guys in terms of a hometown discount? This is a mess. This is a mess for the Bruins right now. When you have built your team on defense and you have one of the best D-cores in the league, you need to make sure you've got an above league average goalie to really make that your point of emphasis. You could say, oh, well, they've got such great defensemen. Why do they need a great goalie? They don't even need a great goalie. They need better than Jonas Korpisalo. And they need better than Brandon Bussy being the starter. Bussy could be a nice backup. But if he's backing up Jonas Korpisalo, you've got 2 goalies and you have none. Where in the past you've had 2 goalies and you've had 2. This is not, and I can tell this is getting to Don Sweeney. This is getting to the Bruins front office. And this is as ugly a holdout as we've seen in a while for the Bruins. Since what? Tim Thomas, weirdly enough, another goalie. Because since those Stanley Cup runs, they have gotten their guys paid. The ones that they wanted to stay here. Bergeron, Marchand, Chara, Tuukka, long-term deals. And now Pasternak, McAvoy, long-term deals. And Jeremy Swayman's got to be sitting there thinking, I just want one for myself. Is he asking for too much money? Yeah. If 10 million's true, that's too much money. But if the other offer is true about barely over 6, that's a low ball. That's gross. Anyway, December 1st. Yeah, it better be done by December 1st. It better be done by October 1st. Like, what are we doing here? We're going to go into the season with Jonas Korpisalo? Give me a break. Bruins, figure it out. Jeremy Swayman, figure it out. It's on both sides now. But waiting till December 1st, man, that is only going to play into Swayman's hands. If Korpisalo has some stinkers the way he did for Ottawa last year, that will only play into Jeremy Swayman's hands if it drags out that long. Whew. And all this is coming before a Patriots game tomorrow, Zach. I got to talk about some other things, but man, that gotta be under my bonnet. We also got the Aaron Hernandez documentary. That's not me saying it. That's American Sports Story. Premiering last night. I caught most of it. Zach, I'll catch you up on it. That is coming up next on the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. got to listen to some of that. Don Sweeney. He wasn't on the offensive as much as I've seen him in the past, but he does love getting at the media. He does love getting at the media and the inaccuracies reported. But just said it was a big disappointment that they haven't gotten that done. I'll say, because it's a big disappointment to us too, the fans. But looking at big premiere last night, Zach.
Yeah, I almost stayed up to watch it, but then I got tired and didn't. So
I was really hoping to talk about it with Pete today. That's nothing against you, but
Yeah,
Pete was into this.
yeah, and I'm sure Pete probably watched both episodes.
And no fucking Pete today.
Yeah, no. I'm planning on watching this, so like I will watch it either tonight or probably tonight. But I'm also relying on you to kind of, help me know if it's going to be worth my time or not.
It was okay.
Okay.
It was okay. And if you don't know the story or if you don't like football, it probably looks even better. Because there were some small inaccuracies. Huh?
I was going to say minimal football.
Oh, there's a little bit. There's a little bit of game action, a little bit of practice action. It does focus a lot on the, I guess, theory, because Aaron never said it, but of him being gay. Put that in there a lot.
Okay.
With his high school teammate. And there's a couple of scenes that focus on that and really I guess homophobic. I mean, the way his dad would be like, "Oh, are you some kind of..."
Yeah.
And it's being said a lot. In fact, there's a scene with a fake penis for some reason. That was weird, but they do hone in a lot on that. So I'm sure that's gonna be coming back later in the story. But there is this one scene where he spills a drink on a girl's shirt at a house party. And he goes, "Oh, I guess you got to take the shirts off." And he starts this chant of "Shirts are gay. Shirts are gay." And I'm like, what is this? This is, because Zach, I hate when things get too heavy handed.
Yeah.
There's an art of subtlety of he hears his dad talk about, how he hates gay people. And that becomes a seed in his head, and he becomes ashamed of, that can be done. And instead they're like, "Shirts are gay. Shirts are gay." It's like, what is this? What is this show? Big Urban Meyer spots so far in the first 2 episodes. A lot of Urban Meyer.
He knock any kickers down or?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. And there's the first or second scene we see with Urban Meyer is kind of making him out to be a hero. And I'm like, oh, you've got to be fucking kidding me. I watched Swamp Kings. I couldn't finish it because it was the same thing. It was like, oh, look how great Urban Meyer is. And we know that's not true, but they do kind of turn it around. They get some of the accuracies of Urban Meyer.
Okay.
Now.
Okay.
And I say this about the Aaron Hernandez actor as well as the Urban Meyer actor. And to some extent, the Steve Adazio actor.
Okay.
Former Boston College head coach, who recruits Aaron. He was whatever tight ends coach or OC or whatever at Florida. Must have been a position coach. Anyway, these actors have really studied the way these guys talk. I will say that. The guy who's playing Aaron Hernandez is really trying to get down kind of some of the subtleties of the way he smiles and that kind of thing.
So they're putting in the work.
Yeah. The Urban Meyer guy is has the cadence of Urban's voice down. I don't know how else to say it, but he's got that part down. But I don't know. He doesn't really look like him. The Aaron Hernandez guy doesn't really look like him as someone who's seen him a lot. So we talked about it, there are those kinds of things. But overall it was okay. It was just okay.
Okay.
I don't know. It was not bad.
Episodes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was not as laughably bad as I thought it might be. There are some things that as a football fan. So there's one scene where Urban Meyer is getting a photo shoot done, and the photographer is pretty good recruiting class, right? I saw, the Pouncey brothers, Aaron Hernandez, Cam Newton. It's just a way to name drop. And I'm like, but there's no fucking way some photographer in 2007 knows your whole recruiting class. He doesn't know the tight
He's-
end from Bristol, Connecticut.
He's got the stars, man. He's plugged in.
And he does not know the interior offensive lineman you recruited. Like, come on, dude. So that was interesting. Like that part, I'm like, come on. Like that's just such a easy plant. And there's another one where the Pounceys are talking to Aaron and they're like, yeah, but Tebow gets to go home to his mansion. And I'm like, that's not true. Actually, that's not part of Tim Tebow's story. He was one of like 6 kids. They were dirt poor. They had like no money. And like football was his only way out, much like those other guys. And I think that was one of the reasons why they respected him so much. So there's that. And there's also like this narrative that Tim Tebow's he's the Heisman front runner. He's going to win the Heisman this year. And I'm like, that was not, I'm old enough to remember that. That was not the narrative. He kind of came out of nowhere as the Heisman winner in 2007. So he does win the trophy that year, but he was like, he was the first sophomore ever to win it. Like a lot of people didn't know who he was. Florida just won a national championship with a different quarterback. So it was not like the way the rest of Tebow's career was, where he was the best player in college football and everyone knew it. It's they do go into the other incidents. Like he has a couple incidents at UF. He has one. They opened the series actually with, and I'm not giving too much away here. It's just the opening scene, Zach, where it's like 2013, and he ends up shooting one of his oldest friends because he's so paranoid. And this is what I was talking about with Pete yesterday. That kind of gets like he was so paranoid those last few months after he had killed Odin Lloyd, and to the time he got arrested. Like that I'm intrigued to see how they cover later on, because that kind of gets lost in the fold. Like this guy was playing big time football games, signing contracts, accepting awards, and meanwhile he like has killed someone. He tried to kill this guy. He shot him and left him out there, and the guy survived. And it's like that part is what's really intriguing to me, and how that gets covered. But yeah, he's still at Florida, which he was never supposed to go to. He's supposed to go to UConn. His dad played at UConn. His brother played at UConn. That was supposed to be the goal. But big news day for Bristol Central High School. So big day overall for Bristol Central High School, because their most famous alums, one of them, Aaron Hernandez, and like in these first 2 episodes, like there's a lot of Bristol Central. You know, it starts with him in high school. He's got the sweatshirts. He's playing in the games. Like, see a lot of Bristol Central. The other famous alum, or one of the other famous alums anyway, Adrian Wojnarowski.
There we go.
Big day for Bristol Central. Not a lot going for Bristol, Connecticut outside of that ESPN facility. So, and even then, oof. But how about that for just a weird connection? They went to the same high school as well as Donovan Clingan.
Do you think?
Who I didn't even know was from Connecticut.
Do you think that
No idea.
Bristol Central realizes it's such a big day for them?
Yeah, I'll bet they do. Because I'll bet since the Aaron Hernandez thing, they've probably hung their hat a lot on Woj and Donovan Clingan.
Probably.
So they're
Yeah,
probably like,
yeah.
oh, this Woj thing, that's big news for us. Meanwhile, Woj is focused on his other alma mater. But yeah, big day for, I wonder if they like put something out on their socials like, congrats to our Adrian Wojnarowski.
Does your, just because this made me think of it, do
Mhm.
you have, obviously my high school doesn't, because I had graduating classes of like 64.
Yeah.
So you don't really have a lot of like famous people that roll through there. Did your high school have at least one like notable alumni or?
Yeah. Kind of. So my town's much like yours. Very small. Nothing comes in, nothing comes out. Everyone stays there.
Yeah.
I love it, but that's what it's like. So famous alums, we had an astronaut.
Oh shit. Okay.
Which is pretty good. It's not like a celebrity the way it used to be, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
A guy who did play in the NHL. He played for the Bruins for a little bit, like half a season, if you could call it that.
Did y'all have, this is a stupid question though too. Did y'all have like, obviously I would think like school hockey then? Like they played it through the, yeah.
Well, no.
Okay.
So we did have high school hockey. So here's a little idiosyncrasy of hockey. We have good high school hockey up there, but the kids who are playing public high schools are not going to the NHL. It's just not the way it is anymore. You got to play prep school, major juniors. So this kid went to Milton Academy, which was a boarding school. And I think by 16, he was playing junior hockey. So yeah, he didn't play at Rockland High. So we have a high school team, but we don't have it like that. Charlie Coyle, who plays for the Bruins now, is from Weymouth, which is right next to Rockland. He did play 2 years of public high school hockey, which that's kind of a big deal for a kid like that to make it to the NHL. Anyway, so Josh Hennessy, the hockey player, there's a guy who's on CSI Miami for a while, and that was our biggest alum for a long time.
Hold on, you have a lot of them.
Well, not, I mean, like a bit character actor. An astronaut, but people don't know astronauts anymore. That's really impressive, though.
You know what the best thing?
But we haven't even gotten to the top one yet.
Oh shit! Okay, go ahead.
Because for a long time it was Jonathan Togo, the guy on CSI Miami, but now it is viral TikTok star, podcasting star, barstool celebrity, Brianna Chicken Fry.
Okay.
And also the girlfriend of Zach Bryan. But she has made herself quite a career in this industry, in podcasting and TikToking. She's like mega famous. She'll do like these huge like campus tour parties. She'll like go to college towns all over America, like a big time. Plan Brie, I think, is the podcast. It's a big deal. She is 2 years younger than me, so we went to high school together.
Nice.
And so it's her, and we have a girl on the LPGA tour that just won the Sondheim Cup, Megan Kang. Yeah. So it's been recent that we've had some big ones, but Brianna Chicken Fry and Megan Kang, those are two. I graduated with Megan Kang, actually. We had the same senior superlative. So she was,
I was just going to say, and the biggest thing I had is when I was in elementary school, our high school running back had offers from Florida State. So my joke I always made was, hey, Bobby Bowden knows where Riesel, Texas is.
There you go.
But that's the biggest thing I had.
Though.
And you just listed off like 5 or 6. We're not the same.
But like, I don't know, no Jamie Foxx or anything.
Well, how many people?
Well, I think of the towns around me. Okay. So I just, I gave you Weymouth, which has a player for the Bruins, and probably several other people. Brockton, which is more of a city. It's much bigger than Rockland, but 2 of the best boxers of all time, plus Al Davis. Rocky Marciano and Marvelous Marvin Hagler, both for Brockton.
Really? Alright.
Whitman, a similar sized town right next to it. That's the birthplace of Marshmallow Fluff and the Toll House Cookie. So there you go. Everywhere around me. The guy's not from Abington, but lived in Abington, which is the town right next to me, carbon copy of Rockland. And he was the world heavyweight champ, bare knuckle boxing.
Okay.
John L. Sullivan. He lived in Abington. And so they kind of adopted him. But like all these towns around me got something. Situate's got a bunch of guys who played in the NHL. Ryan Whitney, talk about a barstool personality in podcasting, biggest hockey podcast on the planet. He's from Situate. Dave Silk on the first line of the Miracle on Ice team. He's from Situate. So all these towns around me, Zach, have a lot of this.
All right.
And I will hang the hat on Brianna Chicken Fry and Megan Kang and Jonathan Togo.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
And yours truly of the Cam Show.
Yeah, we're waiting for your billboard. They do billboards like they do here?
No.
Yeah.
They probably, I mean, they should for like Megan when she wins like tournaments. They should have that. But I guess they don't.
They still have water towers they can put it on?
Yeah, they do. I always wanted like the state championships on the water tower.
Yeah.
And yeah, the sign like welcome to Rockland, home of da-da-da. That would mean a lot to me. Because we have that in Texas. I go to Hearn, hometown of Pro Football Hall of Famer John Randall. I drove out in Wink, Texas when I was living in West Texas. And it's this big sign in the middle of nowhere because that's where Wink is. Big orange sign with these giant horn-rimmed glasses. Welcome to Wink, hometown of Roy Orbison. That shit rocks.
It does.
Man, that shit rocks. But yeah, I mean, maybe we have some more going than Riesel does.
Yeah.
Maybe. But it's an environment that's breeding excellence around us. Apparently.
There's a lot of cows out there in Riesel, so
yeah. But you're near Waco, so Waco's got a lot.
That's true, but honestly, for a bigger town, doesn't it seem like Waco doesn't have as many famous people too?
Yeah,
I
Steve
mean,
Martin was born here, but didn't
one
really
that
grow
didn't
up
get
here.
out.
Yeah. Willie Nelson's from Abbott, which is the same size as Riesel.
Yeah,
actually smaller. They play six-man football.
Well, at the time, they did play football against Riesel. My grandfather played football against Willie Nelson. That was one of the stories he liked to tell. Yeah.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
I don't have anything like that. I didn't play against anybody.
No, I didn't. I played junior high football against Jesse Plemons.
See, that's where Texas can come in with the athletics.
Yeah.
That Massachusetts, like there was no one that I went up against in high school or covered against in high school.
I mean, granted, he grew up in a town that was like 7 miles away from Riesel and Mart, but
yeah, well, that's incredible. Mart's got great football, man.
Yeah, and
Quan
Jesse
Cosby.
Plemons, great football and a decent actor.
Good actor. I know you hate him. He's a good actor.
He is really good.
I'm surprised at his career arc, to be quite honest with you. But he's done it. He's been good. He was just that awkward kid on Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
But it turns out he was just playing an awkward kid and nailed it, actually. I'm going to get off on one more tangent here before we close this segment.
All right.
I love when actors can play like normal really well. And so they will sometimes get typecast or just cast as bad, like just will cast a net over them as bad actors.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Jesse Plemons did on Friday Night Lights. And call me a simp, but you know who else does it really well is Sydney Sweeney. Is Sydney Sweeney an elite actress? No, I wouldn't say that. But people just say she can't act. I don't think that's true. She's just played like normal people with normal dialogue. Now, Madam Web, that was not a good script. Nothing about that movie was good.
You watched it?
Oh yeah, I saw that in theaters.
Because of Sydney Sweeney, or that's got
no. Well, it was helpful that she was in it, but we didn't see anything. But just because I heard it was bad.
Okay.
And so, have I told you about this? Oh my God, one more tangent.
Sorry.
We went to see you know Red. Red's been here before. It was me, Red, and one of our other friends, and we took edibles beforehand. We went to go see it in theaters and like the reclining chairs, and it was fucking terrible, but it was so funny. And we were fucking baked, man. And I had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the movie, and there was like three chairs between me and the aisle, and there were people sitting in them, but they were strangers. Like I didn't know.
Yeah.
And Red and our other friend was on the other side. So I didn't unrecline my chair, so it was still up when I came back, and so I kind of sneaked past all these guys, sorry, and I've got to like climb back into this chair instead of just sitting in it. So I grab it like hand out, like twirl into the chair, but it's towards the side of the strangers instead of just like, hey, if I'm gonna fall, at least I'll fall into red here. So I like like fucking Humpty Dumpty fall into this chair and like leaning over this guy. And like at the time I could recognize how funny it was. And so I just like I could not stop laughing. I like almost actually pissed my pants laughing after just having gone to the bathroom, by the way. And Red's laughing, and I can hear the guys next to me were like college students.
Yeah.
They're dying. Like they're laughing and trying not to. So I'm just like this for like 5-10 minutes of the movie. And there was another, oh God, there was another line. This place was packed, by the way. This is like 2 weeks into showing Madam Web, and it was packed on a Tuesday night or whatever it was. And they have this line where they're like, what are we going to do next? And Madam Web is like, whatever, Dakota Johnson. She's like, I've got to get some more information. And that's it. And Red just goes, great. Like in the middle of the theater. Oh, it was like the top one experience I've ever had at a movie theater. It was so funny. Anyway, we got to talk about something else next, Zach. We got to talk about something else next. I got a little Jamar Chase take about why he could be playing for the Patriots next year. That's coming up next on the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. I got some more of that Don Sweeney press conference at the break.
Is that what you were squeezing in there?
Live, yeah. He was a little abrasive, which I don't think is that bad, but I just think Don Sweeney's got some thin skin. That's all. I don't know. He was going after the media a little bit about that 3 weeks comment that they hadn't talked in 3 weeks. He has refuted that. In fact, he called it bullshit. He has refuted it. But I'm here to talk about Jamar Chase all of a sudden, because Jamar Chase is not happy, and he is looking for a contract extension to get past that rookie deal. And the Patriots need a wide receiver. That's been pretty obvious by the fact that they had 3 catches for 19 yards on Sunday. And they need some help in other places. I loved this Andrew Callahan tweet, by the way, because in 2 games, the Patriots have been blitzed just 6 times. And despite that, They have allowed a pressure rate of 46% on every drop back. Wow. That's not a good offensive line. And teams aren't even trying to take advantage of that yet. Maybe it's because those receivers are so good. Maybe. But clearly they need some help at the receiver position because we heard about how great Pop Douglas was. He doesn't even get a target on Sunday. Tyquan Thornton traded up to get him. Doesn't get a target on Sunday. Jalen Polk. Hopefully a pretty solid guy. Second round pick. Hopefully pretty solid, receiver for your future. He has a touchdown on Sunday. He gets 2 of the 3 catches. But he's a rookie. And they were trying to splash big money for Brandon Ayuk in the offseason, $80 million. They were going to give $80 million to Brandon Ayuk just last month. They are ready to use some of this cap space for a big play wide receiver. And now Jamar Chase is disgruntled. Big time. Talking about the contract negotiations that he held out in camp for. And I saw this report the other day. Zach, I did admit this to you about the way I read it, but I'm reading it and I'm thinking, he was what? He was misled? What is that word? What does that word mean? The word was misled. Jamar Chase said he was misled by the Bengals front office into these contract negotiations. He was misled by the Bengals as to what those numbers, what that figure was going to be. And so now he's pissed. And you saw it in the holdout. Convenient time to get food poisoning the day before the first game after he hadn't practiced, but that's probably why he didn't play well against Christian Gonzalez. And he has a meltdown on the field on Sunday. In that game against Kansas City, he wants to argue a call for a hip drop tackle. He gets his money's worth with the ref and then goes back again at him and gets more of his money's worth, and they throw the flag on sportsmanlike conduct. And he still was hot. Like, Joe Burrow was like tackling the guy to get him away from the referee. And after the possession, he's on the sideline, and he's still hot. He's still yelling at coaches, and they're like, calm down. Zach Taylor's like, calm down, man. Like, you're our number 1 receiver. We need you right now. We're about to go to 0-2. Calm down. And he was just, a screw was loose, man. He was hot. And you want to talk about priorities of who the Patriots have gone after. Brandon Ayuk, good player. Maybe a Pro Bowl player. Haven't seen it yet, but a good number 2 on a good team. Jamar Chase, you've seen him. That's an all-pro. Offensive Rookie of the Year, who could be making all-pro money. And just had his first 100 reception season last year. This guy is a superstar. So if you want to, put money down on a big-time receiver and your options are Brandon Ayuk or Jamar Chase, if you're putting down $80 million for Brandon Ayuk, you're going to put down money for Jamar Chase. That's just easy. Jamar Chase is a much better player than Brandon Ayuk. So he's got what? I think he's UFA in 2026. So he's got 1 year left on this deal. It would take a trade, I guess. But if you're the Patriots, outside of that 2025 first round pick, which we talked about for the Ayuk deal, outside of that, because you need to go get your left tackle there, I would trade almost anything for this guy to play for the Patriots. And the money. Like that thankfully is not much of an object for the Patriots. Now, whether a guy wants to come and play here, that's obviously a big hurdle. Because I understand why Brandon Ayuk wasn't jazzed up about playing for this Patriots team. I get that. It's not like it used to be. But you can put out there a pretty good package, and you've got a lot of cap space to work with. And it's just too bad, because if the Patriots had a tackle that's going to be a franchise tackle, or at least one that's pretty darn good, you could just do this right now. 2025 first round pick. No one's going to give you a better deal than that, a better pick than that. And if you're looking at Jamar Chase, there's no one who can give the Bengals a pick like that could give you the money that we can give you. And then it's easy money. But They don't have their left tackle. They need whoever the next Joe Alt is to pick at whatever, 3 or 4 in the first round in 2025. So that's the only thing that I would say is off limits. Other than that, man, this is an all-pro receiver. This is exactly what you're looking for. And you think you've got some nice complimentary guys, young guys, Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, who was active for the first time and still doesn't have a catch. If you have some good complimentary guys, Jamar Chase becomes your franchise. And talk about that as a weapon for your young quarterback. And Drake May, who you can't put out there right now, by the way, by that stat of 46% pressure rate. And they've only been blitzed against 6 times. That's what I was saying, though. Like, Jacoby Brissett is making something out of nothing. Drake May can run around better. Absolutely. So you think maybe he can extend plays there. He also doesn't have the decision-making that a 9-year NFL vet has in Jacoby Brissett. Because that's what people have missed. Has Brissett been great? No. But he hasn't made mistakes. He has not made mistakes. That was the problem with someone like Mac Jones at a young age, and obviously Bailey Zappi, who was young and didn't have the skill that Mac had, of like making bad plays worse. Drake May, unfortunately, you could run into a situation where he's making bad plays worse because he can really sling it, and he could really fit it through a needle in college in North Carolina. But right now, again, not really safe for him to go out there yet. I used to say week 4, Zach, as the time, because you're coming off a long week. I now think week 5 at the earliest. And I'm not even saying put him out there week 5 yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at the earliest, it's week 5. You want to know why?
Why?
I'm going to tell you why. So I originally said week 4 because you're coming off the break. Because you got the Jets tomorrow on Thursday Night Football, and then you play the next Sunday against San Francisco, at San Francisco. Total house money. So why not throw him out there? But the next week, you have a big game, divisional game, but it's against the Miami Dolphins and against Skylar Thompson. And then it's like, you want to talk about house money. You got a divisional game. I believe that's the one that's at home. And the other team's got their backup quarterback out there too. So if it gets to that point where you're like, we just can't do Jacoby Brissett anymore, then week 5, I think, would be the earliest. But I also don't think that at week 5, you're even saying that, we just can't do this Jacoby Brissett thing anymore. Because you knew what you were going to get out of Jacoby Brissett. And so far, that's what you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had to say right now, yeah, week 5 would be the earliest for Drake May, but I wouldn't expect him before the second half of the season. I really don't. But as we heard from Evan Washburn the other day, who covered this team extensively last week, specifically to do the Cincinnati game, Drake May's getting about 30% of the starting reps at quarterback in practice. Usually the backups are getting like non-existent in the year. He was saying like 5 to 10% would be a nice little reps for a rookie backup. Drake May's getting about 30%. So, I mean, that's the benefit of having your veteran guys. You can work in some more in practice for the rookie. So I don't mind that. I don't mind that plan. I said there's a team right now that doesn't have a plan. This sounds like the beginnings of a plan. What did Trump call it? The makings of a deal? What was it? I don't know. The makings of a plan or something like that. They have the makings of a plan. Anyway, I have the makings of a plan to be back tomorrow. And every weekday from 11 a.m. to noon, I will still be on Pete's show, which is still going to be on 1 p.m. Central Time here on YouTube. Follow it at the Pete Souza Show through the Rogue Media Sports Network. I will be on at 1:30 or so? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but he has Allie on today. It might be a little bit later.
Allie can get chatty with him.
Yeah.
Allie can certainly get chatty with him. I will try to get chatty with Pete as well. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment under there. We'll also have the voicemail number under there. If you want to leave a voicemail for the show, we'll play it on here. We will react, but we will also be back tomorrow as we're previewing Thursday Night Football, Patriots, Jets. It's always at 11 a.m. Central Time, noon Eastern, here on the Rogue Media Sports Network. This has been the Cam Show. I will see you then.